Hi, I'm Hattie Williams, and this is my debut novel, Bittersweet. It is the story of a 23-year-old publicity assistant starting out in her first job in London, and it is there that she meets 56-year-old married author Richard Aveling, who is incredibly famous, the author that has defined his generation. Richard quickly pulls Charlie into an affair, and the novel follows her life over the course of a year and examines the ways that this very, very dubious relationship unravels every element of her life. I am going to be pairing my sad girl book with a record, and then I'm going to be doing that for 5 more of my favourite sad girl books, giving you the very best music that you should listen to while you're reading. So I'm going to tell you about which album I would pair with my own book first, Bittersweet. Unfortunately, Waterstones didn't have any Elliott Smith or The National in stock, so they would have been my first choices. But actually, they do have this wonderful album by The Cure called Disintegration, and I listened to this a lot while I was writing the book. I think tonally, it really sums up the feeling of the novel, and there are lots of really interesting nods lyrically that I think match perfectly with what happens in Bittersweet. So this is my first book recommendation. This is Permission by Saskia Vogel. I absolutely adore this novel. It's incredibly sexy, and it is set in Los Angeles, and the heat is literally baked into the writing. It's extraordinary prose, and I can't recommend this one enough, especially to people looking for something to read by the pool in the summer. I am going to pair this with Lana Del Rey's Ultraviolence, and it was really interesting. So I read this book, I listened to a lot of this record, and then I spoke to Saskia, and she said that she wrote the book whilst listening to this album, so it really is the perfect pairing. My next pick is an absolute classic, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I think this is probably the ultimate sad girl novel. I love it. I think a lot of us probably read it when we were younger, but I revisited it while I was writing Bittersweet, and I took so much from it. I am going to pair The Bell Jar with the ultimate sad, angry girl album, Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette. This is an incredible record, and I'm sure all of you have heard it before, but if you haven't listened to it in a while, then I do recommend going back to it because it is absolutely astonishing. My next sad girl book recommendation is Meg Mason's Sorrow and Bliss, and this came out I think a couple of years ago. There's been a huge amount of noise on it. I think it's got more good quotes than any book I've ever seen published ever. I think this book really encapsulates kind of misery and depression and mental health in a really interesting way, and what I love about it is the humour. And I am going to pair this book with Portishead's Dummy for no particular reason other than that I just think they're a really good vibe match. Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff is definitely in my top 5 books of all time ever. It is an absolutely stunning, sweeping love story about a couple, Lotto and Mathilde, that you will never ever forget. I think I've read it 4 times now. This is the book that I gift to every friend that has not read it. As soon as they tell me they haven't got it, I go to waterstones.com, I order a copy, I ask them their address and send it directly, usually when I'm drunk in the pub. So I think I've probably bought about 15 copies of it over the years. I'm going to pair this with Jeff Buckley's Grace. I just think that there's something so beautiful about this album that I will kind of always talk about it. It's something I really loved when I was younger. Again, I hadn't listened to it for a really long time, but I revisited it recently, and I just think they're a really good match. My last sad girl book recommendation today is the extraordinary novel Confessions by Catherine Airy, and this is on the Waterstones debut prize shortlist. And as it should be, it's an absolutely beautiful novel, again kind of spanning a huge time period, set for the most in Ireland. And so for that reason, and the kind of historical setting of a lot of it, I'm going to pair it with this record, which I think is probably one of the best albums and the best vocal performances ever recorded. Sinead O'Connor, I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got.